Jessica's boy toy was throwing another tantrum. She slid the divorce papers across the marble island toward me. Just sign them. It's for show to calm the kid down. I clenched the cuffs of my blazer, my knuckles white, and gave a silent nod. My signature was clean, efficient. As I was leaving, I heard her best friend, Megan, laugh. Your husband is such a pushover. Does he just do whatever you tell him to? Jessica sipped her wine, the picture of elegance. Want to bet? They made a wager. 20 days from now, at the courthouse, no matter how red my eyes were, I would obediently finalize the divorce. The moment the marriage certificate was replaced by the signed filing receipt, I felt my phone vibrate. I looked down at the new message and calmly typed a reply. Will you marry me? Yes. After I sent the text, the chatter in the other room continued. I'll bet a new Chanel bag that he'll go through with the divorce, one of them said. No way. Ethan loves Jessica too much. He'd never agree to it. You don't get it. Ethan is basically her dog. If she tells him to go east, he wouldn't dare go west. Loser buys 2 Chanel bags for everyone. Jessica's cool voice cut in. A wave of laughter filled the room. I fled, a knot of panic in my chest. Just then, my phone buzzed again. Really? The message read. Yes, I typed back. 6 months ago, Jessica had become infatuated with some D-list actor. She'd thrown money and resources at him, setting him up with a condo and a car in downtown Chicago. The garage of his high-rise was filled with luxury sports cars, all his favorites. But he remained lukewarm toward her. Jessica had tried to sweet-talk him for days, but the kid was stubborn. He insisted he wouldn't be a homewrecker. Dressed in the latest limited-edition designer streetwear, his face was flushed with anger. Jessica, I know you've been good to me, and I like you, but I won't be the other man. Jessica had navigated the corporate world for years, surrounded by countless men who would have done anything for a fraction of her wealth. But this actor was different. He had principles. All the money she'd thrown at him hadn't been enough to make him her willing boy toy. She found him fascinating. And for him, she cast me aside time and time again. I remember the first time. It was my birthday. For once, Jessica had come home to celebrate with me. She was dressed impeccably and had bought my favorite kind of cupcakes. Just as I was about to make a wish, her phone rang. She stepped away to answer it, promising she'd be right back. But after the call, she turned and left, abandoning me and the flickering candles. She'd said it was an emergency. I believed her. 10 minutes later, I got a friend request on Instagram. After I accepted, the person didn't message me. Curious, I clicked on his profile. His feed was a gallery of him and Jessica. That's when I knew. She was cheating on me. I confronted her with my phone. Jessica insisted they were just friends. I didn't believe her, but she brushed me off annoyed. Whatever our relationship is, you'll always be my husband. Isn't that enough? Her words stunned me. So that was it. In her mind, all I needed was the title of husband. But she had told me she loved me most. How could she be with someone else? A heavy weight settled in my chest, making it hard to breathe. I didn't even have the strength to argue. Until she handed me the divorce papers in front of her friends. Just sign them. It's for show to calm the kid down. I signed my name in silence and walked away. When Jessica got home later, she reeked of alcohol. Seeing me on the couch, she frowned. Why aren't you in bed? I looked up at her, our first real conversation of the day. Not tired. You still need to sleep. The doctor said you need more rest. I didn't look at her. I just got up and headed for the bedroom. Wait, she called out. Tomorrow. I need you for something. The next morning, Jessica woke me from a deep sleep. Ethan, let's go file for divorce today. I froze for a second, then nodded. Okay. On the way to the courthouse, she chattered on about plans for our 4th anniversary. First, we'll get you a checkup. The doctor said you're much more stable. A little more time, and you'll be back to normal, she said. Then we'll take a trip. You haven't gone anywhere since you got sick. I remember how you used to love running around when we were kids. You said you wanted to travel the world when you grew up. When you're better, we'll do it. Okay? She glanced at me, but I gave no reaction. Jessica sighed. He's just an actor. Why would I fall for him? He's just different. I'm just curious to see when he'll finally break. She added, don't worry. I promised I'd take care of you, and I will. I nodded. Sensing the conversation was pointless, Jessica fell silent and focused on driving. When we arrived, she opened my door and unbuckled my seatbelt for me. I followed her into the courthouse. Everything went smoothly. An administrator asked the standard questions. I have autism, and expressing my emotions has never been easy, so I just nodded along with Jessica. If you're both sure, sign here. There's a 30-day waiting period before it's finalized. Jessica took the receipt, her face beaming. She immediately started texting someone, a wide smile spreading across her lips. I didn't need to guess who it was. At the same time, my own phone buzzed with a message. I booked my flight back. See you tomorrow. I replied with a simple okay, and that was it. That night, for the first time in a long time, I dreamed of my childhood. A younger Jessica, always clinging to me. Ethan, your eyes are so pretty. Ethan, will you play house with me? I'll be the princess, and you be the prince. The princess always marries the prince. When I grow up, I'm going to marry you. Back then, I adored Jessica. We went to school together, walked home together, even skipped class together to see a Coldplay concert. Until that day, the day I saw my parents and my little sister lying in pools of their own blood. I stood frozen on the pavement, every one of my senses shutting down. My last clear memory is of Jessica, tears streaming down her face, hugging me and begging me to come home with her. She'd said, "My home is your home now, Ethan. Don't be scared. I'm here with you." After that, I closed myself off from the world. I didn't speak to anyone. Her parents took me to see doctors all over the country, all over the world. They all said the same thing. The trauma had triggered severe autism. Mr. and Mrs. Reed would look at me, their eyes red with pity. "Ethan, you're the only one your parents have left. You have to be okay." The Coles and the Reeds have been family friends for generations, so after my parents' accident, they took me in. They were all so good to me, saving what was left of my childhood. Jessica wasn't like this back then. She was my protector. If anyone said a word against me, she'd turn into a spitfire, ready to fight. She would sit with me quietly for hours while I tended to my boring little plants. She never once said I was wasting my time. So, when she asked me to marry her, I nodded. Her parents were overjoyed and immediately started planning the wedding. And I just kept tending to my boring little plants. By then, my condition had improved slightly. I could express basic emotions, but I didn't know what marriage was. My therapist said it was when two people stay together and never leave each other. I thought if that person was Jessica, it didn't seem so bad. Our wedding was a huge affair. Everyone who was anyone in Chicago was there. Jessica held my hand as we accepted everyone's blessings. That night, she curled up in my arms and asked if she could kiss me. I didn't understand why now. I was tired, but Jessica wanted a kiss, and I had never denied her anything. She sat on my lap and kissed me so gently. She said we would be this happy for the rest of our lives. But only 4 years had passed, and everything had changed. Her parents passed away, one after the other, and I lost the only parents I had left for a second time. During that period, I locked myself in my greenhouse. I would only open the door when Jessica came home. She would hold me and cry, begging me not to be like this. After that, the Reed family business grew even bigger. Jessica started coming home later and later. Everyone in Chicago knew that Jessica Reed's husband was a useless, autistic man. And so, countless suitors lined up, hoping to marry into the Reed fortune. Jessica scoffed at all of them. But this actor was different. He didn't care about her money or her power. He just wanted to stand beside her openly and proudly. For any couple in love, that would be the most normal thing in the world. Except Jessica was already married. In the dark, my phone screen lit up. A message from the actor. I opened it. It was a photo of Jessica, hair messy, heading into a bathroom. The bed beside her was a wreck. "Almost forgot. You're autistic. You might not get it," the text read. "Let me spell it out for you. I slept with your wife, and she was the one who initiated it. She really likes it when I FCK her." I turned off the screen. I felt sick, but I couldn't throw up. I'm autistic, not an idiot. When Jessica and I used to be together, our bed would get messy too. I didn't reply. I just rolled over and went back to sleep. The next day, I slept in until late morning. Jessica was already gone. The housekeeper said she was busy at the office. But the actor's Instagram story clearly showed the two of them watching the sunrise at the beach. They were all lying to me. They thought I was a fool. While I was eating, my phone rang. It was Olivia Hayes. I answered, and her bright voice chirped on the other end. "Ethan, I'm back." It took me a long moment to remember that I had promised to marry her. "I don't want to marry you," I said. The person on the other end paused, then laughed softly. "Okay, then we won't get married. But let's go see a doctor first, all right?" "No, I don't want to go to the hospital." I said it stubbornly. The doctors at the hospital just made me relive things I didn't want to remember. They called it exposure therapy. I hated it. "Then we won't go to the hospital. Didn't you get divorced? How about you move out and come live with me?" I was silent, not wanting to deal with her. She was being annoying, even more than my doctors. "No, I don't want to live with you." "I don't. I set up a greenhouse for you at my place," she interrupted. "It's filled with flowers, many of them flown in from overseas. Kind you've never seen before. Are you sure you don't want to come?" After I moved in with Jessica, she'd gotten rid of all the plants I'd so carefully nurtured, using excuses about pollen allergies and bugs. She'd said the flowers would continue to bloom elsewhere. She'd said I shouldn't trap them in pots. And just like that, all my plants were gone. But Olivia said she had flowers. If there were flowers, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. Okay, pack your things and come get me. A light laugh came from the other end. Okay. After hanging up, I went to pack my things. The housekeeper had already left for the day. For years, the housekeepers here had been part-timers who left as soon as their work was done. My therapist had said it was best not to have strangers in the house. I packed my suitcase and sat on the sofa to wait for Olivia. Before long, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Olivia standing there, a radiant smile on her face. I'm here to take you home. I stood in the doorway, looking at her bright smile. Suddenly, I thought that being with Olivia might not be so bad after all. Olivia took my suitcase. From now on, you'll live with me, okay? I nodded. I want to see the flowers first. Okay, you'll see them as soon as we get home. She reached for my hand, but I hesitated. What's wrong? She tilted her head, her eyes filled with a familiar gentleness. Don't you want to come with me? I looked down at my suitcase, then back at the house I had lived in for 4 years. This was once my home with Jessica. But now, Jessica didn't want me anymore. I was all alone again. I shook my head, then nodded. My mouth opened, but my throat felt tight. Am I useless? Olivia paused, then smiled. Who said that? Everyone, I whispered. They say I'm autistic, that I'm worthless, a burden to Jessica. Olivia's smile slowly faded. She took a step forward and gently took my hand. Ethan Cole. She said my full name, her voice soft but firm. You are not worthless. But Jessica doesn't want me anymore. I stared at the floor, my voice trembling. She likes someone else. Olivia was silent for a moment. Then she reached out and cupped my face, forcing me to look at her. So what? She said, her eyes locked on mine. She enunciated every word. She doesn't want you. I do. I was stunned. Her palm was warm, but her fingertips were cool, like morning dew. I looked at her face, so close to mine, and suddenly asked, what is autism? Why do I have it? Olivia froze for a second, then explained, autism means that our Ethan is a little star. Sometimes he shines quietly, and sometimes he hides behind the clouds. I didn't understand why she was so nice to me. I tilted my head and asked her, are you always so nice to me? She smiled, a flicker of an emotion I couldn't decipher in her eyes. Because. She paused, then said softly, I promised I would protect you. I looked at her, thinking she must have remembered wrong, because I didn't. Let's go. She let go of my face and took my hand again. Let's go home. I nodded and followed her out the door. The sun felt warm on our skin. All the way there, Olivia chattered nonstop. I found it annoying and turned my head to look out the window. What do you want for lunch? She asked, turning to me. I want to see the flowers first. We'll go after we eat. No. Eat first. No. Finally, Olivia gave up. You wait here. I'll go get you something. What do you want? Whatever. Then I'll get your favorite tomato soup. With that, she was gone in a flash. By the time she returned with the soup, I was already one with my flowers. Time to eat. Olivia called from the doorway of the greenhouse. I emerged, my face covered in dirt. Olivia stared at me for a second, then burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, Ethan, you look like a little kitten. I looked at her, bewildered. Why aren't you mad? Olivia paused. Why would I be mad? Because I got myself dirty. Jessica hated it when I got dirty. The smile on Olivia's face vanished. Ethan Cole, I will never be Jessica Reed. And you can always be Ethan Cole. All right, now let's wash up and eat. After dinner, Olivia gently placed a list in front of me. We're moving abroad in a month. I wrote down all your favorite dishes. I'll make them for you there, so you won't get homesick. She always spoke so softly, as if she were coaxing a child. I nodded, though I didn't really believe her. Jessica used to say things like that too, but later she'd just complain I was a picky eater and order takeout. I stared at the plants on the windowsill, then turned to Olivia. The flowers. My voice was tight. The last time we moved, Jessica had thrown out all my plants. They'll all be flown over. Not a single pot will be left behind. Olivia smiled and stroked my hair. I've already contacted a specialized transport company. Don't worry. Pinky promise? Yeah, pinky promise. The days that followed were a blur. Olivia took me to get my visa, patiently helping me fill out every form. When the officials asked questions, she would gently squeeze my hand to give me courage. Time for your checkup today, Olivia said, kneeling in front of me to straighten my collar. I stared at the floor, my fingers twisting together unconsciously. I know you don't like going to the doctor. Her voice was soft as cotton candy. But we agreed. One checkup every month, right? I shook my head and shrank back into the sofa. Olivia didn't get angry. Instead, she smiled and brought over a pot of camellias. Look, I brought your favorite flower. She held it out to me. Isn't it beautiful? If we go to the doctor, this pot is all yours. I looked at the flower in my hands and obediently nodded. Olivia patted my head. So let's put on our coats now, okay? It's a little chilly outside. Okay. On the way to the clinic, she kept talking to me. We're trying a new place this time. They won't force you to remember things you don't want. Her voice was light and gentle, which eased my anxiety. At the entrance, the smell of antiseptic made me freeze. Olivia immediately took my hand. It's okay. I'll be with you the whole time. Don't be afraid. I held her hand tightly as we entered the exam room. The doctor was a kind-looking middle-aged man. Olivia stood by the examination table, holding my hand the entire time. It'll be over soon. Don't be scared. I'm right here, she whispered. Her voice was so gentle, it reminded me of my mother coaxing me to take medicine when I was a sick child. After the checkup, she magically pulled a pack of cookies from her pocket. You were so brave just now, she said, wiping the sweat from my forehead. This is your reward. On the way home, I was so tired I fell asleep in the car. In a daze, I felt someone gently rest my head on a warm shoulder and carefully drape a coat over me. We had just gotten home when the phone rang. It was Jessica. I hesitated for a moment before answering. The doctor said you missed your appointment today. What's going on? Are you still mad at me? Do you have any idea how long I've been looking for you? Jessica's voice came through the phone, her usual warmth strained with exhaustion. Where did all your things go? Why didn't you tell me? Where are you right now? We're divorced, I said calmly. There was a pause on the other end, followed by the sound of rustling papers. Getting some fresh air is probably good for you. I've canceled your follow-up appointment. Her voice was still soft, but there was a new distance in it. Just remember to send me the report. The doctor needs to track your progress. I didn't say anything. The line was silent for a moment. Why are you being so difficult? Jessica sighed. I'm just playing around with that actor. As soon as he gives in, we'll get remarried. I didn't say a word. I just looked at the room full of flowers Olivia had prepared for me, flowers she had spent a fortune on. I transferred some money to you, Jessica continued, her voice softening. Remember to take your medicine and see your doctor on time. Okay. News of the Reed heiress's divorce spread like ink and water through our social circle. Did you hear Jessica Reed got divorced? Yeah, filed the papers last week. Honestly, it's for the best. Marrying an autistic guy, she was just making her own life difficult. He can barely handle a normal conversation, let alone help with the family business. Jessica's pretty cold, though. I heard he's really not well. Who's going to take care of him now that they're divorced? What do you know? A family like the Reeds. How could they tolerate a son-in-law who can't even attend a cocktail party? It was only a matter of time. If you ask me, a marriage like that should have ended long ago. They were a total mismatch, just asking for trouble. Meanwhile, at Jessica's private club, her childhood friend Megan burst into the private room, phone in hand. Jess, you have to see this. Megan shoved the phone in Jessica's face. Isn't this your guy? Holding hands with that Hayes girl on his way to a clinic. Jessica glanced at the photo, unconcerned. Don't be ridiculous. Ethan and Olivia Hayes barely know each other. Besides, he won't even let me touch him in public, let alone a stranger. See for yourself, Megan said, zooming in. He's even wearing that jacket you got him for his birthday last year. Wow, who knew he could be so tame for Miss Hayes? Jessica snatched the phone, her fingers swiping across the screen. In the photo, Olivia was leaning in, saying something to me. And while my head was still down, my posture was visibly relaxed. What shocked her most was that my fingers were loosely clasped around Olivia's, my body even angled slightly toward her. That's impossible. Jessica's voice turned sharp. He hates being touched. Maybe the photo is fake? Just calm down, Megan said. Jessica shot to her feet and dialed my number. Before, I would have always answered her calls. But this time, all she heard was, the number you have dialed has been disconnected. Please try again later. Jessica slammed her phone onto the plush carpet. Find out, she said, her voice like ice. I want to know where they're living. Now, ever since the car accident that killed my parents and my sister, I hadn't been able to handle transportation. The sight of a car would trigger flashbacks of that day. Now, sitting next to Olivia, I gripped the straps of my backpack, my knuckles turning white. The airport announcements felt like needles in my eardrums. Olivia gently touched my wrist and handed me a pair of noise-canceling headphones. This should help. Her voice was a soft whisper, like a feather landing on my palm. Suddenly, there was a commotion behind us. A pack of reporters swarmed toward us, their cameras flashing, blinding me. I instinctively ducked behind Olivia, and she immediately threw her arms out to shield me. It's okay, she murmured, turning her head to reassure me. Her hair smelled of her familiar shampoo. One reporter shoved a microphone almost in my face. Is the reason for your divorce from Miss Reed because do not disturb us? Olivia's voice cut through the noise, cold as steel. Otherwise, the Hayes Corporation won't hesitate to use its influence to have every single one of you blacklisted from the industry. The reporters exchanged nervous glances. Faced with the power of the Hayes Corporation, they had no choice but to retreat. At the boarding gate, she took out a small tin box. Mints, she said, unwrapping one. Suck on this. It'll help with the pressure when we take off. I put the mint in my mouth, the coolness spreading from my tongue. As the plane began to taxi, Olivia took my hand. Get some sleep, she said, dimming the reading light. I'll wake you when we land. Her eyelashes cast tiny shadows in the dim light, reminding me of the ferns at home that shied away from the sun. I closed my eyes and heard her speaking softly to the flight attendant. Could you please turn up the heat? My husband gets cold easily. Her tone was back to its usual gentleness, like a mother coaxing a restless child. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I knew who it was without looking. Jessica's last text from the night before. How long do you think she'll put up with you? I didn't reply. I just shoved the phone into the bottom of my suitcase. The Parisian morning light was filtering through the sheer curtains as I watered the ivy on the windowsill. Olivia wrapped her arms around my waist from behind, resting her chin lightly on my shoulder. Ready to give it a try today? I nodded, my fingers unconsciously tracing the handle of the spray bottle. 2 months ago, when Olivia first suggested I try opening a flower shop, I nearly dropped my water glass. Jessica's words still echoed in my ears. You can barely hold a normal conversation. What could you possibly do? Amazing, Olivia whispered, placing a soft kiss behind my ear and straightening my collar. I made sandwiches for the road. After all this time together, I no longer resisted her occasional kisses and hugs. My phone suddenly buzzed on the dining table. The name Jessica Reed on the screen made my hand freeze in midair. I canceled my U.S. number last month. I had no idea how she'd found this one. Want to get it? Olivia asked, packing the sandwiches into a paper bag. Her tone was as calm as if she were asking about the weather. I shook my head, but in the final second before declining, my finger accidentally swiped to answer. You finally decided to answer. Jessica's voice was laced with its familiar impatience. Do you know how many strings I had to pull to find this new number? The sunlight fell on the daisies on the table. I stared at a drop of water on a petal. Is there something you need? Are you done with your little tantrum? If you are, come home. Her tone was so matter-of-fact, as if she were discussing the weather. We're divorced. I interrupted, my voice calmer than I expected. Before we left, Jessica had taken me to get the final divorce decree. She said her actor boyfriend wouldn't back down until he saw it. So, just like that, we were divorced. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end, still throwing a fit. Jessica suddenly laughed. I already told you, it was just a moment of... I hung up, my fingers trembling slightly. Olivia silently handed me a glass of warm milk. It's okay. It's all in the past. A series of Instagram DMs came through. Messages from Jessica's friends. Jess has practically turned Chicago upside down looking for you. It's just a fight. Do you really need to disappear like this? Jess already told you she was just messing around with that actor. Time to go. Olivia turned and held out her hand, palm up. I took it, noticing for the first time that my own fingertips were warm. With Olivia's help, I quickly adjusted a life abroad. I walked home, carrying a cake box. Olivia's work schedule had been lighter recently, and she often got home before me. I counted the steps up to our apartment, remembering she'd said she was making beef bourguignon for dinner. Just as I inserted the key, the door swung open from the inside. Olivia was standing there in my favorite beige lounge set, holding a pot of budding white gardenias. Gardenias! I blurted out, nearly dropping the cake. The familiar, sweet fragrance filled the air. I reached out carefully to touch a delicate white bud. The silky texture of the petal reminded me of the time Jessica had thrown the night-blooming jasmine I had painstakingly cultivated out onto the balcony. There for you, Olivia said, leaning against the doorframe, the setting sun outlining her in gold. I looked up at her, my throat suddenly tight. Is this really okay? Why wouldn't it be? She asked with a smile, taking the cake box from my hands. The aroma of stewed meat wafted from the living room, and the gardenias bloomed quietly on the windowsill. I was suddenly reminded of my 10th birthday, when my sister had snuck a jasmine plant home from the school greenhouse. When we grow up. Want a taste? Olivia's voice pulled me back to the present. She sat beside me with a slice of cake, a smear of frosting on the corner of her lips. I instinctively reached out to wipe it away, my fingertips brushing against her soft lips. The air grew thick. The scent of gardenias filled the room, and the only sound was our breathing, intertwined. Olivia caught my wrist and gently kissed my palm. Ethan Cole. She rarely used my full name. Tomorrow, will you marry me? I looked at her shadow cast by the lamp. I suddenly remembered a little girl at the flower shop last week who had looked up at me and asked, "Mister, what is love?" Okay, I heard myself say. The next day, Olivia took me to the registrar's office. The gold foil letters on the marriage certificate shimmered, and I couldn't resist tracing them with my finger. Olivia leaned in close, her breath warm against my ear. "Now, I'm Mrs. Cole." The name made my ears burn, but for some reason, it reminded me of the sunflower at the shop that always turned toward the sun. My phone vibrated in my pocket while we were at a cafe. I answered it, and Jessica's voice came through. "So France it is." Each word was coated in ice. "What? Found yourself a new safety net?" I stared at the latte art in my cup as the foam slowly collapsed. "We're divorced." "Divorced," she scoffed. "Can your little flower shop even support you?" "Does Olivia Hayes know you can't even read a menu in French?" "Jessica," I heard my own calm voice say, "my gardenias are blooming." The silence on the other end was like the calm before a storm. Olivia returned with a hot chocolate, a straw thoughtfully placed in the mug. She saw my expression and silently mouthed, "Her?" I nodded and ended the call, cutting off whatever bitter tirade was about to come. Olivia suddenly held our marriage certificate up to the light. The gold letters fractured the sun into tiny, dancing specks between us. "Mr. Cole, your sunflower needs watering." A rapid-fire series of text notifications followed. I knew they were threats from Jessica, without even looking, just like when she'd thrown out my plants without a second thought. But this time I had Olivia. I wasn't afraid of her anymore. I thought we were done, but clearly Jessica didn't think so. She posted a photo on her Instagram feed of her and the actor kissing on the deck of a yacht. The caption was just 2 words, "Love you." I scrolled down and saw the comment section was buzzing. "Jessica's finally made it official. Isn't that the actor who's been getting a lot of buzz lately? CEO has great taste. When's the wedding?" Megan's comment was the most prominent. "So happy Jess finally found her true love. Hope some people are seeing this." "You mean the autistic guy? How could he even compare? Seriously, the man can't even string a proper sentence together. Is this for real this time?" Jessica replied to her personally, "As real as it gets." Another wave of comments followed. "So when are you inviting us to the wedding?" I quietly locked my phone and went back to tending my plants. I heard Olivia's footsteps coming from the bathroom, carrying the faint scent of her shampoo. Seeing my mood, she cupped my dirt-streaked face in her hands. "What's wrong?" I handed her my phone. She scanned the comments under Jessica's post. "Want to get back at her?" When I didn't answer, she was already holding up our wedding photo, snapping a picture in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. "Can I post this from your phone?" she asked, tilting her head, a drop of water still clinging to the end of her hair. As if possessed, I nodded, watching her press the share button. My phone immediately began to vibrate uncontrollably. Jessica's voice message was the first to pop up. "Ethan Cole, what the hell is this?" It was followed by DMs from mutual friends. "Olivia Hayes?" As in, the Hayes tech heiress? Olivia switched my phone to silent and pulled 2 large suitcases from the closet. "We're going back to the States next week," she said, pulling out a deep blue suit. "First, we'll get the marriage certificate notarized. Then I'll take you to meet my parents." Her tone was as casual as if she were discussing tomorrow's breakfast. I clutched the hem of my shirt. Though I had never met her parents, I knew no one would want an autistic son-in-law. "Ethan," Olivia said, taking my hand, "you don't want to meet my parents?" I shook my head, then nodded. "They won't like me." "Why not? Our Ethan is so sweet. They'll love you." She added, "Besides, you're the person I love most in the world. No one can hurt you." I nodded. "Can I bring them a Kalanchoe and an English Ivy?" "Of course. They'll love whatever you give them." The first thing Olivia did when we got back to the States was take me for a checkup. Then, only after I repeatedly confirmed I was ready, she took me to meet her parents. In the Hayes family living room, I sat on the edge of the sofa, my fingers unconsciously rubbing my knees. Olivia gently touched the back of my hand and placed a warm cup of jasmine tea on the coffee table in front of me. "Dad, Mom, this is Ethan Cole," Olivia said, her voice filled with its familiar warmth. "Mr. Hayes smiled and nodded at me. "Ethan, right? I've heard Olivia talk so much about you. She tells me you enjoy gardening." His voice was deeper than I'd expected, his speech unhurried. I nodded, my gaze fixed on the pattern of the coffee table. Mrs. Hayes came over with a fruit platter and sat in the armchair next to me. "Have one of these tangerines," she said, handing one to me naturally. "They're from our own garden." I took the tangerine, and Mrs. Hayes's eyes crinkled at the corners. Olivia says the blue plumbago you grow is especially beautiful, mister. Hayes's voice came from behind his newspaper. I have a friend who works at the botanical garden. I'll introduce you to sometime. Okay. Thank you, sir. We had dinner at the Hayes' home. The atmosphere at the table was peaceful and warm. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes didn't show the slightest bit of disapproval because of my autism. On the contrary, they were incredibly considerate. Want to see the library? Olivia asked softly after dinner. I nodded. Mr. Hayes immediately stood up. I actually have a few horticultural encyclopedias that are just collecting dust. You should take them with you as a little welcoming gift. He led us down the hallway, his pace steady. He pulled a few books from the shelf and placed them on a reading chair by the window. These are all for you. He then turned and left, closing the door softly behind him. When we were leaving, Mrs. Hayes handed me a paper bag. Take some tangerines home. They're homegrown, very healthy. Her gesture was as natural as if I were a frequent guest. Now that you're done with things overseas, come visit often, Mr. Hayes said from the doorway. I'll have the gardener get all the tools in the backyard ready for you. Once we were in the car, Olivia took my hand. See? I told you they'd like you. Her thumb gently stroked the back of my hand. I looked out at the darkening sky, the warm lights of the Hayes' house shrinking in the rearview mirror. The faint, sweet scent of tangerines filled the car. By the way, I have a meeting in a bit. Want to come with me? Olivia looked at me, her eyes full of tenderness. Okay. Olivia took me to meet her business partners. This is my husband, she said, holding my hand and introducing me without a hint of hesitation. I greeted everyone in turn. Their eyes held no judgment, no pity. They just treated me like a normal person. In all my years with Jessica, everyone in her circle knew I was autistic. She said it was to protect me, but in reality, because they knew, they never bothered to talk to me. And because of that, my condition only worsened. Ethan, wait for me here. I'm just going to the restroom. Olivia's voice pulled me from my thoughts. I nodded and found a seat in the cafe. Just as I sat down, I saw Jessica. She spotted me, shoved open the cafe door, and marched straight to my table. She grabbed my wrist, her nails digging into my skin. Ethan Cole, you've grown some nerve, haven't you? Her voice was shrill, drawing stares from the other patrons. How long has it been since the divorce? And you're already latching onto the Hayes family. The stares made me shrink back, my wrist throbbing in her grip. Just then, a slender but strong hand intervened, forcefully prying Jessica's fingers away. Ms. Reed, Olivia's voice was as cold as ice. Let go of my husband. Husband. Jessica let out a sharp laugh, her crimson-painted nails jabbing at my chest. This autistic man who can't even dress himself? The Hayes family must be blind to. Smack. The crisp sound of a slap silenced the entire cafe. Jessica stared in disbelief, clutching her cheek. Olivia pulled me up from my seat and shielded me behind her. That was to teach you some manners. Ethan is my husband now. His life is no longer your concern, Ms. Reed. Ethan Cole. You're just going to let her hit me? Suddenly, she grabbed a coffee cup and threw its contents at me. You ungrateful piece of trash. Olivia quickly pulled me aside. I remained frozen, my eyes fixed on Olivia's blouse. Your shirt is dirty, I said. It's okay. Ethan can just buy me a new one. Okay. Seeing that I was ignoring her, Jessica trembled with rage. You think the Hayes family actually wants you? You're just a novelty. Once they get tired of you. Jessica, I said suddenly. My voice was quiet, but it stopped her cold. My life has nothing to do with you. It was as if I'd hit a pause button. Jessica's perfectly applied eyelashes fluttered, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Ethan Cole, you will regret this. Her voice held a choked quality I had never heard before. No one but me would ever want someone like. The glass door slammed shut, cutting off her final words. Olivia pulled out a wet wipe and gently cleaned the coffee that had splashed on my face. Let's go home, she said, kissing my red knuckles. I'll make you your favorite sweet and sour ribs. After dinner, Olivia picked up the phone and dialed her parents' number. I stood on the balcony, listening to her calm voice. Dad, it's me. Yes. We ran into Jessica Reed. I could hear the concern in Mr. Hayes' voice on the other end. What happened? Is Ethan all right? She bruised his wrist. Olivia's voice was steady, but I could hear the cold fury beneath it. She caused a scene in public at the cafe and threw coffee on me. What? Mrs. Hayes snatched the phone, her voice frantic. How is Ethan now? Is he hurt anywhere? Is he okay? Should we take him to the hospital? Mom, calm down, Olivia soothed. He's fine, just a little shaken. I gave him some warm milk. He's much better now. That poor boy. Mrs. Hayes' voice was filled with heartache. Can he talk? I want to say hello. Let him rest, Olivia said, glancing toward the balcony. By the way, Dad, isn't the Reed Corporation in talks for that East Side development project? Mr. Hayes understood immediately. I see. I'll have Johnson make some calls tomorrow. Don't be too obvious, Olivia said softly. Just make sure the partners know that working with Hayes Tech is the more advantageous option. Olivia, Mrs. Hayes hesitated. If you do this, will Ethan? Mom, don't worry. I will respect Ethan's choice. The line was silent for a few seconds. All right, we'll wait to hear from you. After hanging up, Olivia came out to the balcony and wrapped her arms around my waist from behind. The night breeze tangled long hair, a few strands brushing my face, carrying her familiar scent. Ethan, she asked softly, if I make the Reed family go bankrupt, will you blame me? I turned to face her. Her eyes were shadowed with a faint exhaustion, but her gaze was unwavering. I thought of all the times I had messed up and the gentle way she always looked at me. No, I said. She tightened her arms around me, her grip so strong it was almost hard to breathe. Ethan, she whispered, I have to go away on business for a while. It might be for a long time. I clenched the hem of my shirt, a lump forming in my throat. Since leaving Jessica, I had barely been apart from Olivia. I'll have my parents come pick you up, she said. She reached out to touch my face, but stopped her hand midair. Stay at the main house for a while, okay? I looked at the faint dark circles under her eyes and remembered how she had been in the bathroom last night, whispering into her phone, trying to handle work without disturbing me. The word got stuck in my throat. Olivia took my hand. Dad said he cleared out a patch in the backyard for you. You can plant whatever you want. And Mom learned how to make that soup you like. You'll be taken care of there. I remembered the first time I met Mr. and Mrs. Hayes. Maybe I could try living with them. Okay, I finally managed to say, my voice barely a whisper. Olivia leaned in and hugged me. 3 months, Max, she promised, her breath warm against my ear. I promise. I moved into the Hayes' family home. Mrs. Hayes made me a different kind of soup every day, and Mr. Hayes would join me in the garden, pruning the hedges. They never once asked about my past with Jessica. When I had nightmares, Mrs. Hayes would sit quietly by my bed until I fell back asleep. 3 months later, Olivia returned, looking exhausted, and collapsed into my arms. Ethan, let's never be apart again. I knew then that the Reed Corporation was finished. Even though Olivia and her parents tried to shield me from it, news about the Reed family eventually reached me. I heard they had lost 3 major contracts in a row, severing their capital flow. One morning, a financial news alert announced that Reed Corp had filed for bankruptcy. After the bankruptcy, Jessica came looking for me, but Olivia stopped her at the door. Ethan is doing very well now, and he doesn't want to see you. 6 months later, our wedding took place as planned. Olivia held my hand as we walked step by step toward the officiant. This time, all I heard were the genuine blessings from our friends and family. 5 years later, our son was born. My condition had stabilized, and I was living a normal life. My son had my face, but he had the mischievous spirit of a young Olivia. The first time he pulled one of the prize orchids in the garden out by its roots, Olivia was so mad she could only stomp her foot. Caleb Reed Cole, she yelled, brandishing a small ruler. But the little guy just giggled and hid behind me. I picked him up, and his chubby little hands immediately grabbed my tie. Daddy, he shouted, his eyes as bright as stars. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes came running over, breathless. This little rascal, Mrs. Hayes said, wiping her brow. He's just like his mother was as a child. In the end, Olivia couldn't bring herself to punish him. That night, after our son was asleep, she leaned her head on my shoulder and said softly, I saw Jessica Reed today. My hand, which was stroking her long hair, paused for a fraction of a second. She's working as a sales associate at the mall, Olivia said, her tone neutral. She saw me and turned away. Our son rolled over in his sleep, his small hand unconsciously gripping my pajama shirt. I leaned down and kissed his soft hair. Tomorrow, let's take Caleb to the amusement park. Outside, the moonlight fell silently on the garden. The plants that our little rascal had terrorized had already grown back, more lush and vibrant than ever before.